How that got here, I'll never know. This is definitely a first. It looks like the die on this 6264 got hot enough to melt the socket beneath it. Not unexpectedly, that 6264 was dead. A Data East MPU from a Batman, and I have the Simpsons ROMs in it right now, but you can see that row 6 is ghosting. If I go through all the columns, or even the individual lamps, row 6 is always on. So that tells me something, but what? Here are the row return transistors on this Data East Batman MPU, and you can see that there are 8 of them, but one of them is not like the other, and that happens to correspond to the row that is misbehaving. So I am going to pluck this thing out of here, and let's see if that helps. I have replaced that tip 102, even though it tested good, and I can tell you that the lamp matrix is working properly. I'll show you in just a minute. But I wanted to show you this tip 102. I've got my black lead of my probe clipped to ground on it, and I'm going to probe the outside legs. If I can do this with one hand, that is a good reading, and the other outside leg, and that is a good reading also. So sometimes, as we often say, when you test a silicon device like this, you can test it to be bad, but you can never test it to be good, if that makes sense. This one tested good, but it was in fact bad. So let's go through the rest of the diagnostics now. I've inadvertently hit the start test button, which is convenient. And I don't have sounds connected to this. We're driving Simpsons. And the next test after display is switch test. So I'm going to run across from switch 1 to 64, which proves that all rows and columns are working. And the next test is active switches. That makes sense. Here's our lamp test where we'll verify the correction that I just made. That's all lamps. Here's the lamp rows and the lamp columns and the individual lamps. Now, there's some ghosting there. That is because my tester that was created by Victor and superseded my cobbled together tester is still made out of an LED block. So you get ghosting just like you do with LEDs in the game. Flasher test. Looks good. Coil test. And we're sorry about that shaking, but we've multiplexed the lower 8 coils. Simpsons coil 5 was not multiplexed for whatever reason. You can see that all these are working correctly. We'll let it finish and go through the special solenoids, which is the yellow LEDs. The orange LEDs are the path to ground provided by the flipper enable relay. And we can test those special solenoids with their switch drives also. And you can see all those are working correctly. Next test is individual coil tests. We'll skip that and the game will reboot. So I'm going to put the Batman ROM in here. I don't have a Batman display to test with, but I'll be able to tell when the lamp matrix comes up that it's operating correctly. I did convert it from a 2-ROM game to a single ROM game, and you do that by moving the jumper from J4 to J5 and then doubling or quadrupling the image so that it fits in C5. And here's the NV RAM I installed since the old RAM was defunct anyway. We have new RAM in, new 470 microfarad capacitor. I've taken to installing them like this because it just gives it more flexibility and they don't get beaten off the board. And I replaced CN17. So she's good to go. Thank you so much. A short follow-up to show the lamp matrix operating correctly after I installed the latest Batman ROM.